Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are back on the Skoda Octavia VRS 3 project, and in the last video it got cut a little bit short. And that is because I started to remove the engine out of the donor car, and I noticed there was an extra sensor on the top, which I was likely to be for GPF, and I noticed that the old engine didn't have it. So I then started questioning everything and found out that the engine code of this engine was completely different to the engine code of that engine, and I need these two to be compatible because I'm putting that engine in the car that this one came out of. So thank you to everyone commenting in the comment section. Obviously, I have found out, I think the differences are fairly minimal and we can sort it. I believe this sensor here is to do with the GPF OPF filter. I believe this one is post OPF and this engine was pre-OPF. I mean, I don't know how my luck is managed that because they are the exact same car, less than 6 months apart from registered dates. How I've managed to get two cars with a completely different engine is, yeah, it's just my luck, isn't it? But hopefully the difference, I think the main difference is going to be the inlet manifolds, because this car has multi-point injection, so it's got injectors here that go direct injection here, but it's also got MPI injectors which inject into the inlet manifold as well. And I believe this engine just has direct injection and no MPI. So I think to get around that, we're going to have to replace the manifolds, swap the manifolds over, so we get rid of the MPI, and also completely swap over the engine wiring looms as well, which I was going to do anyway, because this has got an auto gearbox and that's got a manual. So the loom, how I found out in, what car did I find out the hard way? I think it was the S3, so go click in the top right corner to go and watch that video. The wiring loom for the S3 was very slightly different, manual to S-tronic, and I ended up having to cut a few wires out, and so we're going to swap the complete looms over anyway. Yeah, so that's enough yapping on. I'm going to get this engine out, plonk it next to this one, and we'll start swapping stuff over. Well, I've just pushed the Skoda off the ramp, and now we have both engines side by side. Here is the bad engine, here is the good engine. Obviously, the bad engine has the manual gearbox that we need to put onto the good engine, so we need to take the auto box off of this, and I'd sell that, I guess. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the whole wiring looms off both engines, and I'm doing that purely because of the additional sensors for the gearbox. Actually, I don't need the additional sensors. Anyway, it messes things up. The pins are slightly different. I don't need them. They change slightly, so we're best off getting rid of them. And also, because this one is now GPF, it has a few more sensors like this one here that we don't need, and that could also mess around with some of the pinouts. So just for peace of mind and ease of keeping everything OEM, I'm swapping the whole looms over, and that should take care of any issues we get in the wiring department. And then it'll be a case of swapping the inlet manifolds over, because that is where the MPI injectors are for this one, which is actually in the boot of the red Octavia. So we're going to take that one off, and I will show you once I've got it off exactly what I mean. So again, I'm going to put it on a bit of a time lapse because it's very boring. It's going to be very time consuming, just unplugging many, many sensors. 1, 2. So finally managed to get both wiring looms off both engines. That literally took a couple of hours. A bit more harder on the automatic gearbox because we have the cooler, so we've got a couple of additional pipes and a few more pumps. There's another pump down there as well, so it's a bit more fiddly. But I did also notice another issue that I'm glad I've spotted. It's not an issue now, but it would have been if I hadn't have spotted it. And that is all down to this little knock sensor right down there at the back. And that's because, weirdly, they differ on the wiring looms. So here we've got the wiring loom from the new engine and from the old engine that we've got to swap over. Now, this is the injector wiring, and then we've got the main harness here. Now, if you see on the injector wiring on the old engine, we have, this is the plug for that knock sensor I was talking about. But if we go to the injector wiring from the new engine, that plug isn't on here. It's actually here in the main loom itself. So I don't know why they've decided to change that. So if I hadn't have spotted that, I would have left the injector wiring in place because I thought they were the same. And yeah, that would have been really upsetting. And the other difference is we've just got our MPI injector connectors here, look, which is the old wiring loom. And obviously on this one, look, we don't have them, look. And that is because this is the inlet manifold from the, I'm getting so confused, the new engine. This is where our MPI injectors would be if we had them. And then our old inlet manifold, which is the one we want, you can see clearly here our injector MPI rail and the injectors at the back there with our 2 additional connectors. So I hope that all makes sense. Any other differences I find, I shall let you know, but I'm just going to go ahead now, swap over the inlet manifold, swap over all the wiring, and fingers crossed. Oh, we've also got to swap over the gearboxes. Right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it off camera because you've already seen me strip it once. Cue doing the gearboxes. So that is the engine, all the loom, manifold, everything swapped over now. A little bit more complicated than first thought. I also had to change the high pressure fuel pump because we have an outlet here to feed the MPI injectors. And if you look at the one I've swapped it over from, you can see that there's no outlet on that one at all. So I had to swap that over too. And also because the automatic gearbox has cooler on it, there are all these additional pipes come from it. So yeah, there's quite a lot. So I had to replace those with the other engine pipes and basically just cuts out all the extra hoses for the automatic gearbox. So that's simplified that. Everything is all now good to go. And yeah, we've also taken off the electronic diff because that one has it and the manual one doesn't. So we didn't need that either. So I think I'm going to probably just put the automatic gearbox and put it as a collective package with all the brackets, pipes, starter, diff. I might just put it on eBay as like a package deal if someone wants to convert a manual to a DSG. But yeah, that's now good. So all I've got to do now is swap over the flywheels. So we've got the automatic flywheel, the manual flywheel and the clutch, and put the manual box in and get it back in the red car. This is quite a big job actually. So once the clutch is off, I need to swap over the flywheels too because they are different between the manual and the automatic gearbox. Right, so the Octavia's gone outside now, and luckily my new bonnet's just turned up along with a hinge because this one's slightly bent. So I'm just going to swap these over quickly. It's been glued on. There we go. I don't know if you'll be able to see it there, but just bent, look, nothing major, but enough to be new. So getting there, flywheel is on the new engine and I went to fit the clutch and it looks a little bit ropey. It's nothing too major, but you can just see the top here where it's starting to wear thin, and also at the bottom here, around here, it's starting to wear thin, and around the top here as well. So although it's probably still got a few thousand miles, 10, 20,000 miles left in it, that is pretty much it. So while we're here, and we're here, might as well fit a new one. For the sake of a couple of £100, it's done then, and then it probably won't need to be done for the life of the vehicle after that. So you can just obviously see the difference in the material. So new clutch, new slave cylinder as well. So we'll stick that in as well. So that is there, look. And then we'll put the new clutch on, get the gearbox back on, and then we can finally get the red one back in to refit that engine. And remember to put your clutch plate on the right way around. You can't really get it wrong because it says gearbox side on the clutch plate, which means it goes the side of the gearbox facing outwards, so therefore it would sit on like that. So let's just stick it in there actually. So let's stay there. Now I normally just line clutches up with my one good eye, it's never let me down, so I shall continue to do so. Right, so after getting rid of the lightheadedness from putting that bloody gearbox on, last piece of the puzzle is to remove this GPF rubbish. It's just this bracket here with this sensor and the two pipes that went to the exhaust, so we don't need any of that, so we can... No, I need a 10mm deep socket. Ugh. Now I'm actually going to swap over the heat shields as well, because as you can see they are slightly different on both engines, because obviously this engine had the GPF sensor which had an additional heat shield. So swapping over to the non-GPF heat shield on this engine. So I've now got to try and get the engine in a sort of correct position so I can drop the car on it and then reattach the engine crane from above and then lift it up into position. So I'm probably going to have to take the bonnet off to be able to get the clearance to do so. But for now, just got to swing it into position. So I thought I'd try a different view here with the GoPro attached to the bonnet, and you can see me trying to wedge the engine and gearbox into that engine bay without the front end or radiator removed. It was really difficult. It took about 40 minutes, and you can just see, just from the angle of the camera there, how tight it is, and trying to wedge everything in without damaging anything as well. It was quite difficult to do. But eventually I did get there, and luckily I didn't damage anything, so happy with that. Right, so the engine is finally in the Octavia, and now I've literally just bolted the engine and the gearbox mounts in both at the top, so I've just got 5 bolts holding the whole thing at the moment. So we need to go through everything now, attach all electrical lines, everything, drive shafts, battery tray, the exhaust, the lot, to get it driving. Now, the time is 3:13, look, Friday afternoon, and I've got to go at 5:15. So I'm now going to stick this on the time lapse, I'm going to stick some music on in the workshop, I'm going to crack it out, and I'll be driving this out by 5:15. Famous last words.
It's what I need. Now if you wanna get the best of me, got you smiling, that's for sure. Funny how you had the best of love. I don't know if I'll make it home. I don't know, not like I care. All I know, sound of disco. Only know I want the best of us. So I dance the night away when nobody's awake. I'll be the last to stay. Dance the night away, no matter what they
So I've wasted 25 minutes of my 2 hours so far because I found another problem, and this time it's cooling system. You can notice here I've got two near enough identical pipes, apart from one has an additional coolant pump in it and the other one doesn't. The additional coolant pump was actually on the old engine because I found a wire here, look, and I was like, oh, where's that go? I haven't plugged it in. And lo and behold, looked at the old engine and it had a coolant pump, whereas the one I just fitted didn't. So I've had to faff around wasting time taking the old one off and putting the new, getting the new one ready to go on. The hose, what it goes into, is very slightly different. This is more of a T-piece, whereas this one here is what it connects to is more of just an angled piece. So because of that, the angle of the pipe, if you can see it, is ever so slightly different. So hopefully I'll be able to fit that okay. Worst case, I'll have to just cut the pipe here and then obviously join it to the coolant pump and refit it. So around about 35, 40 minutes is now going to be wasted due to that problem. And it then got me thinking, what other problems am I going to find when I try to start this in about 25 minutes? Yeah, so I'm not going to lie, that coolant pipe was an absolute disaster. It took 45, 50 minutes, nearly half of the time it should take to put an engine in and get all the bits connected. It's taken me nearly half that time just to change one stupid pipe. And also I found out another difference as well. This O2 sensor is different as well. So the one coming out the turbo, it's got a block connector like that. Yeah, the old one has a slanted. Why are there so many differences to the same fundamental engine is ridiculous. 6 pins, 5 pins, so brilliant. I don't know if that's gonna make any difference now. I'm getting a bit bored of this, but I ain't gonna get it out. That's now not happening, but I might be able to try and start it. It should start all right with that sensor unplugged. So I'm just going to plug the fuel pump in. I've put the jump pack on it. Let's just see if it starts, runs for a couple of seconds and turn off, and I'll call it a day there. Right, ECU's all plugged in, fuel's plugged in, fuel pump's plugged in. Can have no clutch, but ready. Battery's flat, honestly, what? Right, let's have another go. Beautiful. Right, engine runs. Sweet, I'm out. Right, I'm 10 minutes late. Engine runs though, all good. Couldn't drive it out because as everything is the hardest thing in the world. Nothing ever goes to plan, but we are getting there. So see you in the next one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram at saving_salvage. Have a good weekend. Cheers, guys.